My name is Don, Go-Away's in-house destination expert, and today's topic is Stop Dreaming, Start Planning. Best of Australia. As the world emerges from the many COVID-enforced bubbles, it is now time to take those dreams of travel, dreams of Australia, and start making the dream a reality and begin planning your dream getaway to Australia. Have you been dreaming of a trip down under, dreaming of throwing shrimp on the barbie at Bondi Beach, or walking the base of Uluru, sampling some of the world's best wines in the Hunter or wine regions of South Australia, or swimming in the water of the Great Barrier Reef? Then, now is the time to start making the dream a reality and begin planning your dream getaway to Australia. As you might tell from my accent, I am an Australian. I've been away from home though for over 25 years, but as Peter Allen sang, something I've always known, still call Australia home. Now Go-Away is actually owned by a fellow Australian, and it is in Australia where Go-Away began over 50 years ago. Well, technically it began here in Toronto, Canada, with trips in and around North America, but it was Australia where Go-Away began in earnest and where our reputation was built. Australia is confident, as I am, in that we hope COVID is fading in the rearview mirror, and they... My name is Don Forster, and this is... Welcome to the Go-Away TSA and a quick update of breaking news in the globetrotting world of Go-Away. Today, Australia is reopening. Ripper! Australia will reopen its international borders to all travellers on the 21st of February 2022. As the title of our webinar says, time to stop dreaming and start planning. As it's been a while anyone has travelled to Australia, let's go over some basics. Australia is easy to get to, though granted it is a long flight. But as we say here at Go-Away, it's simply a dinner, wine, or a few beers, or both, a movie and a sleep, and then voila. The main gateways out of North America are New York, Vancouver, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Hawaii, Dallas, and Houston. Connecting from the East Coast is easy for both Canadians and Americans, but will naturally add to the overall flight time. To list the reasons for taking a trip to Australia would take a long time. So I can present to you beaches, nature and wildlife, kangaroo, koalas, wallabies, wombats and the Tasmanian devil, plus the kookaburra and emu. A wide range of local sporting activities, rugby.
Happy to work big runners in that first channel. Karevi gets to the outside, sends it really wide now for Kellaway. Kellaway's in again.
Soccer, Aussie rules, cricket.
And bowls him, and a breakthrough finally for Australia.
Some generic ones including surfing, scuba diving and snorkeling, and even some international ones like basketball. Add to that famous food and wine. Some of the world's best wines, in fact, are in Australia. Adventure activities and cultural pursuits, be it ancient, colonial or modern, Australia has it all.
Hi, Ethan, Hayden, Dad, we miss you, we love you.
Hi. And as it is a long way away, the suggested minimum stay is 2 weeks and is the common length of time. We find that most Americans will use this suggested minimum, with Canadians adding on a week for an average stay of 3 weeks. Either option will allow you to do the best of Australia without it being or feeling too rushed. Of course, like anywhere, more time is better. More of the best of ideas in a moment. The main carriers flying the Pacific route are Qantas, Air New Zealand, Virgin Australia, Air Canada, Delta, United and American Airlines. Most airfares are priced from the West Coast but offer add-ons from East Coast and central cities. Want to stop en route in an idyllic island? Then the options are many and varied. Air New Zealand with an Auckland or Rarotonga stopover, Fiji Airways with a Nadi stopover, Air Tahiti Nui with a Papeete stopover, with of course Honolulu stopover. There are even options to fly via Asia or the Middle East. Remember, Go is an air consolidator as well, so we always have access to the best airfares: economy, premium economy and business class. Nothing like a lay-flat bed on an overnight 13-hour flight. Just saying. Unlike many other countries where there is one or two international gateways in and out, and often one of those gateways is the capital city, Australia has a few more choices and none are the capital. The most popular gateway and starting point is Sydney in New South Wales. However, other gateways include Melbourne and Brisbane. A suggested and popular combination is arriving into Brisbane, as this way you can take in all the main highlights of the country, the best of, which generally sit on the east coast. We are a coastal country with over 80% of the population living on or near the coast. Australia is made up of states and territories. The most populous state is New South Wales.
G'day.
Then you have Victoria in the south.
How you going, mate?
And then working our way west, there is South Australia.
G'day, champ.
Western Australia.
G'day, mate.
Then our first territory, the Northern Territory.
G'day, mate. How you going?
Aussies call them as they see them. Then the Sunshine State of Queensland.
G'day.
At the bottom of the country, and not to be forgotten, and it is a stunningly beautiful place, is the state of Tasmania.
G'day, champ.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Getting around this big country is best done by air, though land options abound in the guise of coach touring or RV self-drives or even rail journeys. For covering the big expanses of the Australian outback, you can look to some of the world's most famous rail journeys, such as the Ghan, north to south, or vice versa, or the Indian Pacific going east to west, or vice versa, or as always with GoA, a combination of all of the above. The biggest sites to consider for Australia and the best for the first time travel idea to suggest to your Globetrotting client would be Sydney. The main gateway, most beautiful harbour city in the world. San Francisco is a close second, again biased, and is the birthplace of colonial Australia. In Sydney you have the Rocks, where it all began for colonial Australia. There's the Harbour Bridge and the climb of the bridge. The Opera House, Bondi Beach, ferry rides across the harbour to Taronga Zoo and Manly Beach. There are koala experiences, great dining, and of course nightlife. You would then head off to the Blue Mountains. So called as the Blue Mountains is densely populated by oil-bearing eucalyptus trees. And the atmosphere is filled with the finely dispersed droplets of oil coming off the eucalyptus leaves, which, in combination with dust particles and water vapour, scatter short-wave-length rays of light which are predominantly blue in colour. Again, we call them as we see them. Known for dramatic scenery, the Blue Mountain encompasses steep cliffs, eucalyptus forests, waterfalls and villages dotted with guest house and galleries and gardens, offering stunning bushwalking trails and lookouts and such views to the storied Three Sisters sandstone rock formations. It is a fantastic day trip from Sydney and an overnight if you have the time. You then have the Hunter Valley. It is a rich wine-producing region. And I need not say more about Australian wines. A day tour is possible, but again, an overnight stay is more than recommended. Then you would head to the centre. and probably Australia's most iconic and famous image, on par with the Sydney Opera House. Uluru. In literally the centre of the country, Uluru is the heart of the Outback and the Northern Territory, and it is the heart of the ancestral lands of the Aboriginal peoples. It is from here in Uluru we suggest Globetrotters base themselves for exploring Kings Canyon, Uluru itself of course, and the Olgas. Trek around the base of the rock.
The Rock knows exactly who you are.
No, not that one, this one. Rise early for probably one of the most spectacular sunrises you will ever see. Even better than Africa. That little dig is for our Africa team who claim Africa has the best sunrises, sunsets. You can dine under a canopy of the southern sky. And see the Southern Cross overhead. With many unique dining options. Then King Canyon, a hidden gem that should not be missed. It's an easy trek with classic vistas right out of Aboriginal Dreamtime. Uluru and the surrounds are a great immersion into Aboriginal culture and beliefs. Enjoy learning of the Dreamtime and the Rainbow Serpent, while the echoing sounds of the didgeridoo, echo across the vast expanse of the Outback as you enjoy the Sounds of Silence dinner, with Uluru fading into yet another night as the sun bounces off the massive sandstone monolith. What a backdrop. Did you know Uluru is the largest single rock in the world? See, we have a lot of big stuff in Australia, including the big banana, the big prawn, shrimp, big merino, big cassowary, and the dog on the tucker box in Gundagai. Dog is a dog. Tucker box is a lunch bag or lunch box. Gundagai is a town. Gundagai is Aboriginal for going upstream. Then to Cairns. Cairns is primarily the reef part of any reef and rainforest combination, with Kuranda and the Daintree naturally being the rainforest part. Remember, written like this, but pronounced Cairns. Here you can snorkel or dive on the Great Barrier Reef and also visit the Daintree Forest north of Cairns. Also in easy access of Cairns is Kuranda, home to the spectacular rail journey through a rainforest that can also connect you to the Daintree Forest. The Daintree is a part of the largest continuous area of tropical rainforest on the Australian continent and one of the best biologically diverse rainforests in the world. Home to a huge percentage of the entire country's animal population. This includes 30% of Australia's frog population, 65% of butterflies and bats, and around 12,000 different insect species. As well as being diverse, the animals are unique, as is Australia. South of here, Cairns, you then come across the Whitsundays, which are a picturesque collection of islands in the south of the Great Barrier Reef. Remembering, the Great Barrier Reef is the largest living organism in the world and the largest reef system in the world, and extends from Cairns all the way down to just north of the border of New South Wales and Queensland. The Whitsundays offer barefoot affordability, and high-end luxury and romance are on offer in the Whitsundays. This is a great spot to end an Australian itinerary with this wide choice of idyllic retreats to give your globetrotter that relaxing downtime before their return dinner, drink and movie back home. Now we can't forget Fraser Island, the world's largest sand island, at 122 kilometres, 75 miles long, and home to roving dingoes. A World Heritage Site, and put simply, Fraser Island is one of the most unique islands in the world. You then head back south to Brisbane for a short visit, or Sydney for your connecting flight home. Sydney, the Hunter Valley, the Blue Mountains, the Centre, and northern Queensland. This is a 9 to 12 day itinerary, and while a best of, it is most assuredly not all of Australia. There is so much to see in these states and even more to see in the other states and territories, which we'll just quickly go over now. Victoria, cosmopolitan and coffee shop central Melbourne. Nearby Phillip Island is where you can see the little penguins and travel the Great Ocean Road which runs along the bottom of the state. South Australia, beautiful church-filled Adelaide. The Barossa Valley, home to some of Australia's world-renowned wines. You have Kangaroo Island, where you can see in abundance, well, you guessed it, kangaroos. Again, we like to cut words short. Think of a zoo with no fences. Then Western Australia. WA covers 1/3 of the country's territory with only 11% of the total population. That means lots and lots and lots of space. Outback and desert, to be precise. Its fertile southwest region also has world-class wines, and the outback is home to the Pinnacles and the famous Wave Rock. ACT, the Australian Capital Territory, the only purpose-designed city in the country and home to the majority of government buildings and offices. It is naturally home to our old and newer Parliament building and the world-famous War Memorial. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention Tasmania, that wee little island below the big island of mainland Australia. Often forgotten about by fellow Australians and often left off the maps, it should not be forgotten or overlooked by the Globetrotter. Tasmania is a place of wild and beautiful landscapes, friendly people with a relaxed island lifestyle, wonderful food and wine, and a haunting history evoked by world-famous convict ruins. Big country, big distances, big choices. So what is the perfect amount of time to see Australia in depth? 4 to 6 weeks is perfect, but you will find Australia perfect, be it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 2 months. The usual time on a first visit is between 10 and 14 days, however. As such, the suggested itineraries for the best of would be our 12 or 15 day Classic Australia, 9-day Classic Golden Triangle, 8-day Classic Sydney Rock and Reef. And gaining in popularity is the 12-day Classic Highlights and Wildlife. Important to remember, these itineraries and their day counts are the on-ground days in Australia. Remember, it takes 2 days to get there from the west coast, but bonus, when returning, you often land before you actually took off. Simply add a Whitsunday Island, an idyllic retreat, stay at the end, as remember,
Go Away is simply the best at creating tailor-made vacations.
we can set this up for you or your group off the shelf, or use it as the basis to plan that perfect trip for 2 people in private services or as part of a group, as a self-drive where your clients stay in accommodation of choice each night, or look at hiring an RV and camp your way around Australia. Do you have train buff clients, or are you a train buff yourself? Then Australia has some of the best rail journeys in the world. Of course, Go Away has pre-planned base rail itineraries ready to go, and a very interesting and favourite for a rail buff would be the 12-day Classic Aussie Rail Spectacular. That's Sydney to Adelaide on the Indian Pacific train, then from Adelaide to Alice on the Great Southern Rail, then a flight to Cairns before heading home. I would also be remiss if I did not mention those other larger islands to the east of Australia called New Zealand. New Zealand is as equally enticing and stunning as Australia, and while many may think it offers a similar experience to that of Australia, and to be honest, at times it does, New Zealand most definitely is its own unique place of adventure, history and culture. Now, the reason I bring up New Zealand is the perfect trip down under is a combination of New Zealand and Australia. The flight option between the 2 countries makes this choice a very easy one. Just ask. As you can see, so much to see and do in Oz, big distance to be travelled, and all this means a lot of planning. Go Away has been planning trips down under for Globetrotters for over 50 years, so we can literally do this one in our sleep. 5, 4 and 3 star, or a combination of all. Private guided, our recommendation, or small group or coach touring, small group or self-drives, rail or cruises, or as always, a combination of all. And private group travel handed by our group only department. Adventure, culture, luxury or lifestyle stays, or you guessed it, a combination of all. GoA has done it all and is ready to help you create that perfect customized experience. Or again, as always, a combination of all the above. Fly point to point, rail point to point, or again, combined transportation choices. In short, however your clients can envisage a trip, GoA can make it happen. So, the time of dreaming of a trip to Australia is over. Now that's a play on words here, as the dream time is a commonly used term for describing important features of Aboriginal spiritual beliefs and existence. Now is the time to start planning your dream trip to Australia. Australia is mostly empty and a long way away. Its population is small and its role in the world consequently peripheral. It doesn't have coups, recklessly overfish, harm disagreeable despots, grow coca in provocative quantities, or throw its weight around in a brash and unseemly manner. It is stable and peaceful and good. It doesn't need watching, and so we don't. But I will tell you this, the loss is entirely ours. It's now question time.